back to the Ongoing History of Beer. I'm your host, Tiffany Hayes, and today I've got three lovely guests that came down from St. Jacobs, Ontario to chat with us from Block 3 Brewing. So we've got Kevin, James, Graham. Welcome to my fake basement.
Thank you.
I'm thrilled to have you here today. So let's start in letting everyone know maybe your exact location and I guess maybe what you do, or how do we start this? I like that I have three people on today. Usually it's just one.
So we're just trying to make it difficult for you.
Yeah, this whole gangle of characters from Block 3 Brewing, which I think is kind of a nice representation of the shenanigans up there as well. So where are you from? What do you do?
Yeah, so we're kind of based in the village of St. Jacobs. So,
yes.
Just kind of short drive away from Kitchener-Waterloo. I'm one of the owners. And then these guys here are the yahoos that make the beer.
The hired help?
Yeah.
That's funny. So you are the only brewery still in St. Jacobs.
That's correct, yeah.
Right? There's an addition close by, but you guys are the only ones in St. Jacobs. Elmira. There's someone in Elmira?
Yeah, someone just opened up in Elmira. Rural Roots, I believe.
Oh, cool. So I like how it's still growing up that way a little bit too.
Mm-hmm.
So you guys are open. Why don't you tell me a little bit of the hours, and we'll start with sort of the business stuff, and then we'll get into beer.
Do I get to go on this one again?
Yeah, sure.
All right.
The logistics.
Yeah. So we've been open about 6 years now, or over 6 years, and we're kind of 7 days a week. So usually Sunday to Monday is 11 till 6, and then 11 till 9, Thursday, Friday, Saturday.
Have you been open 7 days a week for a while now? Oh,
yeah.
that's
I think when we first started, we were only open when we had beer, and then since we kind of figured that problem out, we've been open 7 days a week.
Awesome. And you two are the brewers.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I do know that. I've pushed myself in there before to help out or pretend to help or be a bit of a pain if it is. But I really do love what you guys do there. So you make several styles, but you sort of specialize in some stuff too. So why don't you tell the audience a little bit about your barrel program, kind of what sort of styles of beers you guys like, where your inspirations come from, and take it away. It's a lot of questions.
Well, I guess we're kind of known as like being into Belgian style beers, like saisons, sour, oak age, things like that. While it's not necessarily a huge part of our production, it is certainly the one that gets talked about the most.
Right.
We like doing, using fruits, using local ingredients, things like that. Sticking them in barrels with mixed fermentations, bacteria, all that stuff to kind of see what flavors we can pull out of it.
So good.
Yeah.
That excites me, the whole mixed fermentations, as you know. And what about, I might be jumping up a bit here, but talking a difference of kettle sours too, because I know a lot of people like sour beers are a very common thing to find at a lot of breweries nowadays in Ontario too, but they're not always made so quickly. So James, you want to talk a little bit about, because you have some kettle sours on the tap as well, right?
Yeah, we have a full-time kettle sour called Fickle Mistress. We're kind of brewing that almost every week now. And now we're starting to do kind of more fruited variations of that.
Yeah.
The kettle sour we can do in about a day and a half versus the barrel-aged stuff, which can take months to years.
It's amazing.
So it's a lot kind of lighter drinking, I find, when people come in. We kind of call it like our intro to sour beers.
Okay.
So we add hops and add fruits and things like that and start balancing out some of the acid levels of the kettle sour.
Yeah. So that helps with that, because I do find kettle sours are generally quite tart, and I like the little bit of depth that comes from the barrel to them too, but it's interesting. So what else? Where did you guys start brewing? Did you go to school? Were you guys in the program at Niagara?
I did the Niagara College program.
Okay.
And I finished that on Friday, and I had a few days off and pretty much started at Block 3 the next Monday. So I've pretty much only ever brewed, I guess, professionally at Block 3.
Oh, really? Did they headhunt you? Were they like watching you in that program and just like?
You know what? I think they actually headhunted my buddy who had already taken a job, and then he said, "James, go apply here." So
Well, I think they made a good decision. What about you, Kevin? What's your history?
So I started brewing in 2010 at Magnata Brewery in Vaughan, and then I was at Wellington for like 4 years, and so I've been doing this for a while.
Yeah.
I did do some schooling through a school called Siebel in Chicago.
Okay.
pretty much just been doing this for a long time.
Yeah.
It's like the only thing I know how to do anymore.
So there's a few of you that have done the whole Siebel thing in Chicago too.
Yeah, it's a popular school for sure. Back in 2010, there wasn't an agri-college, so there were that many options.
Right.
So you had to kind of choose. It was like Siebel or UC Davis in California.
Oh, okay. Cool. And with that, did you get to do like different like spots across the U.S. as well, or like there's like a Europe program through Siebel? Or
there is a program you can do where you go to Europe and you kind of tour around and you see some big breweries and things like that. I was already working, so I didn't do that portion of it. I just did the like the theory, like book learning side of it, I guess.
Yeah. Cool. And are you two the only ones that brew there? You have assistant brewers too.
No, it's just
the two of you?
just the two of us. Yeah.
Smokes.
We have a part-time guy jump in here and there, and Graham is a set of hands when we need him. But
yeah. And then what's your major role there? Like I know you're the owner, but you also are you in charge of events and kind of planning other things?
I do kind of like the sales, events, accounting, all the fun stuff.
All the other hats.
Payroll.
Payroll.
The fun stuff.
Yeah. That's good.
Taste testing.
Quality control.
Yes.
Like we say, which we will get to after the break as well, but that's fun. So what about your tap room too? There's something that I love about it. I think it's like you kind of walk in, if people haven't been there that are watching today, and it's like kind of set low and it's really, really cozy. I think you've got like a really nice vibe that's going on there as well. Was that something when you were opening up the brewery that you were aiming for, or like is that, I know community is really, really important to a lot of breweries, staying and growing as well. But what was your sort of feel on that? Did it come together, or did you design this cozy little place, or did you?
It just kind of happened, I think. Yeah. I mean, it's like we did most of the construction in there ourselves, so
okay.
It just kind of happened.
Right.
And I think it's kind of like a reflection of us, more so than anything else.
Yeah, you guys are pretty chill there, I think.
It does, we're in this building kind of back, half underground in like back parking lot, so it does kind of feel like when you go there, it's like the secret place no one knows about.
Yeah, it's like a little bit of a cave with windows still.
Yeah.
And some couple skylights,
stuff, yeah. And it's always packed, I feel. I know sometimes I used to come in there when I was guiding Brew Donkey tours as well, so I would be bringing in a nice group of folks to test your wares, but it is always kind of packed. I think you guys have like just as much of a regular, but also being in kind of a tourist destination in the summer, I suppose, with the market there and stuff. For sure, too, right?
Yeah, definitely kind of. Well, I think we've talked about it before that it's a bit of like a community center in town. Everyone brings their dogs. I'm sure a few people have been looking for each other in town. They just show up to the brewery, see if they're there, and there's a good chance they are.
Looking for lost wives and husbands along the way.
All the time.
All the time, yeah.
I joined because I wanted to help others.
To be a part of something bigger.
To show my kids what's important.
I joined to make my community stronger.
To make a difference in someone's life.
To acknowledge that our freedoms come at a cost.
I joined to honor my mom.
My grandpa.
My neighbor.
Everyone who served.
Who are serving still.
I joined.
I joined.
I joined the Legion.
Looking for great seats to all the action? Rogers Super Sports Pack delivers. With NBA League Pass, get up to 40 out-of-market games every week, all season long. More dunks, more slams, more to love, live in HD. NBA League Pass, part of the Rogers Super Sports Pack. All this for only $35.95 a month. Order through your remote on Channel 431 or call 1-888-ROGERS-1 today.
And he can lift anything. Anything at all. He's that strong.
Joe Schuster, will you stop it or you'll miss your train? Now help me find number 5.
Strong, but by day he's a mild-mannered reporter. Glasses, a secret identity.
Honestly, you Canadian kids.
He'd be in this cape.
A what?
A cape. Wearing these blue tights.
A hero in tights, really. Here it is.
Listen, Lois, this guy is faster than anything, I swear.
If you're not fast, you're gonna miss your train.
That's it. A bullet. He's faster. No, he's faster than a speeding bullet.
Come on, get on it. No one's gonna read a comic strip about a strong man in tights, Joe. It'll never fly.
Fly, no. But he can leap over tall buildings. Oh, wow, yeah.
See what your cousin Frank says in Toronto.
Wait, Lois. I've got something for you. Take it. It's a gift. You never know, it might be worth something someday. Is he great or what? Bye-bye, boss.
And welcome back to another segment of Ongoing History of Beer. As mentioned, I'm your host, Tiffany, and I have the lovely crew from Block 3 Brewing with me today in my fake basement. So we have... Kevin. I almost said Rick. I don't know why. That's why when I focus on names. Sorry, I know you're Kevin. Kevin, James, Graham, James, Kevin, back with us. And we poured some beer on the break. So which one of you wants to grab the reins here and tell us a little bit about this fine beer in our glass, which is this one?
Yeah, so this is called Hollinger Helles. Helles is a traditional German style of beer. It literally just means light, so it's a light lager. We brewed this for kind of the opening of our beer garden, which we just opened in St. Jacobs.
Yes.
About 100 meters from the brewery. It's a large outdoor patio, seats 100 people.
Good segue. Good segue. I forgot we sort of dropped that in the last part.
Almost like we sell beer for a living.
Yeah.
And then actually now that it's winter, we opened up the inside and we have a full-on Mexican restaurant inside there.
What?
Yeah. So just opened that last weekend, so very exciting.
Yes, to Mexican restaurant.
So this beer was kind of made to be drank, by the half liter multiple times over the course of the day. And it's quickly become one of our better sellers.
Why do you think so? It's very well done.
I think it's light, easy drinking, and if you're like a macro drinker, you're drinking your Canadian Coors or whatever, it's not offensive.
Yeah,
No.
it's like an easy jump to move from a Canadian to a craft lager, right?
And I love that, and it's important because it's showing them, it's not like hot bullying them and trying to make them drink something that they're just going to complain about on Untapped.
Yeah.
So you still have that transition for them to enjoy a well-done beer.
For sure, yeah. I think that's a super important. It's nice to have like big, hoppy IPAs and dry saisons and fruited sours, but we have to realize that at the end of the day, the majority of people like macro lagers.
Yeah.
Right. So if you can, if you can convert some of those people over to drinking craft, I think it does a big thing for the industry and gets people, and then that brings them in and then lets them start experimenting and trying different things as they go on. Absolutely.
And there is more to beer. Like, I love haze, but you've probably heard me go on this rant before too. Like, we need more of these beers in our life too. And there's classic styles I am a huge fan of, and I've found that they have gotten lost a little bit depending on some breweries, which there's nothing wrong with. I also love a nice IPA or a very juicy, bitter, whatever it is that you want to give me in my glass. But there's something to be said about going back to these classic styles. And also the fact that you can't really hide anything in here. So when I go to a brewery, I like to order something, a Pilsner, a lager, whatever it is, because you can't really hide anything off in there. So if the brewery's making a nice solid variety of one of those beers, I think you can really see behind what's going on, and they're not covering anything up, and it's a little bit easier to judge a good brewery. So as much as I like my fancy stuff, there's something to be said about going back to the traditional styles. Kind of like the same thing I do if I go to a new brewery that I haven't been to before. I try their flagship beer, maybe that's their pale ale or whatever, and then if they have a lager on the board, I want to try that. And it's kind of like you can see how the brewer's chops are, like see how good they are. Yeah. I've learned so much. I've learned a lot from you guys too. Like, it's just, I don't know, like we had the day where I got to come in and learn a bit more about barrels, and that's kind of how my learning is. I've done a little bit of pre-dom here and there, but my learning comes from reading a lot of books and also visiting and kind of volunteering for a day, if you will, and learning a bit more pestering, if you will, about that too. But tell me how many barrels you have, because you used to have a lot. You still do, but they're not all jammed into the back, so you had to have more space now. Yeah. When I started there, we had like 12 barrels. Now we're probably around 120. Yeah, I think so. Yeah. Some get retired. Maybe they're not structurally sound anymore, or the flavors that we're getting out of them aren't that great anymore. New ones come in, things like that. So, yeah, there's a lot. I'd have to go do a whole count. I have a spreadsheet somewhere. Yeah, we have a fooder too, which is a large barrel, if anyone's... It looks like a sauna, like one of those wood saunas. Yeah, it really does. I made that joke last week that we should just cut a hole in it. Individual sauna. When you can't use it anymore. Yeah, so that holds 1,000 liters. That's nuts. Which sounds like a lot, but it goes pretty quick. Yeah. And when you say like use of barrels, how many do you usually get, or does it really depend on when you got the barrel or what was in it previously? Like, or you just kind of use it until.
So we use a lot of wine barrels, which actually almost exclusively wine barrels now. So those are a little stronger than like a bourbon barrel might be.
Oh, okay.
So they can withstand a lot more usage. But yeah, it really depends on the flavors and how they taste, when we might retire them.
Yeah. I like the wine. I don't know. I'll go through this barrel stuff. I'm with like the whiskey and the bourbon. I'm not as big of a fan, but I think it's also really big flavors, and I don't drink much of that drink on its own either. But I've learned to really appreciate and like sit down and I guess slowly drink a beer with friends, which is kind of a weird concept to like share a beer, but that's sort of what those big bourbon ones are about too.
Sometimes I find that the bourbon or the rye just kind of takes over the flavor in the beer, right? Whereas I think you can get a little bit more nuanced with some of the wine barrel-aged beers.
It's interesting. Do you have wineries, like, are you ever giving after you've used them for beer, giving them back? I feel like that's kind of maybe weird for wine.
We've done that with the cidery before, which is technically kind of winery.
Yeah.
But we've done some barrel switching with West Ave, I think.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Cool.
They had their cider in it, we put our beer in it, and gave it back to them to put their cider back in. So.
Nice. All right, so we have a couple minutes left. Why don't you tell me a little bit more about these beers that are going on here, especially the one in the middle, or this one. Is that the middle?
Yeah.
Let's talk about that one. Congratulations.
I think there's one guy that gets to talk about that.
Yeah, you're a dad now. So
yeah, we got a beer with my face on it, which these guys kind of...
Is it limited release, or is it like available in the tap room? Can we go buy a beer?
It's available. It was a full batch, full run of bottles and on tap at the brewery. So these guys made it for me when I was kind of on my bit of a paternity leave when I had my first baby. So it's kind of the prank beer we're starting to slowly turn into a tradition, I think, when one of us is off. So
I like it.
We did the first one when Kevin went off for one of his as well. So.
Okay. I would like a beer with each of your faces.
Live free and die hard.
Graham's up next, so.
Yeah, I like it. What's going to be the occasion? Or are you just going to get surprised, punked with a beer?
No, I've got another little one coming in February.
Oh, congratulations. Wow, you are all going to be very busy. That's good. That's good. So thanks again for joining today. We've got just about 30 seconds left, so I really appreciate you guys coming into studio. I feel like we could talk a lot more about a lot of things in the beer world, but we can continue that after. We'll do like a B cut, and maybe we'll have you back at some point in the summer too. Yeah. So make sure that you check out Block 3 Brewing and their beer garden across the way, / Mexican restaurant currently, but in the summer you have that nice outdoor patio. They're in St. Jacobs, and we're going to wrap this up for today. Thanks for bringing the beers, for coming by, and I'm going to throw this over to Dre for the next segment. And cheers to everyone. Thanks for watching.
Cheers.